This area is negative 4x squared, and this is 6x. Now what I'm looking for are the lengths of the sides. The GCF will be on the outside here. So we want to know, what can they all be divided by? Anyone have an idea? 2. Okay, but then we need to look at the variables. If they all have a variable, the same variable, then you divide by the biggest or the smallest exponent. Okay, if they all have a variable, then you're going to divide by the smallest exponent. Okay, so here my smallest exponent is just to the first, so I can only pull out x to the first. And then we're just going to divide. To find this length of this side, we're going to divide it. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Does anybody remember what we do when we are dividing things with exponents? Yes. We subtract their exponents. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm going to do, is subtract their exponents. So I have x cubed, and I take away x to the first. I take away 1, so I get left with x squared here. Then we divide again. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and I take away an x, and I'm left with just one of them, x to the first power. Then 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then x divided by x is 1. So I just get plus 3. So the 2x is what we call the GCF. And then this top part is the 2x squared minus 2x plus 3. That's just the leftovers. And the 2x and the 2x squared minus 2x plus 3 are the factors of our original problem, the 4x cubed minus 4x squared plus 6x. Any questions over that? Yes?
So for the answer, would it just be the leftovers?
It'd be all of it, this whole thing. Okay? If we're asking you to factor it, then that's what you're going to do. If they ask you for the GCF, then you're just going to give me the 2x. Okay? In this, it does say find the GCF of the following polynomials, but I do want you to not listen to that. I want you to factor it. I want you to factor by finding the GCF. Okay, so we're going to factor this. So this is 10 x to the 4th plus 15 x cubed minus 20 x squared. Jacob M, what can they all be divided by? 5. And what about the exponent? What's the smallest exponent that the x has? The x squared, so we're going to factor out an x squared. Then we're just going to divide. 10 divided by 5 is 2, and then x to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. We take away 2 of them. Then 15 divided by 5 is 3, and x cubed divided by x squared is just x, and it's a positive 3x. And then negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4, and then the x squared divided by the x squared is 1. So they take 2 away, and I have no more left. So my factors are the 5x squared times the 2x squared plus 3x minus 4. Any questions over that? We're good? Okay, next one. Haley D. What is the GCF here? What can they all be divided by? Okay, is there a bigger number? 4. Do they all have an x? No, so you can't pull out an x at all. So you just, the GCF is just 4. So then we factor out 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then x squared. And then negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3x. And then 20 divided by 4 is 5. And it's a positive 5. Any questions over that? So we have 4 times 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. Those are my factors of the 8x squared minus 12x plus 20. Okay, you guys do the next one. C. So we have our 36x squared and minus 16. Jacob P. What did you think the GCF was? Do they both have variables? No, so we don't have a variable here. Okay, so then when we factored, 36 divided by 4 is 9x squared, and negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. So my factors were 4 times 9x squared minus 4. Okay, so our next one is slightly different. We're back to 3 terms, negative 18 x to the 4th, negative 12 x cubed, and 36 x squared. Now we should put a star in this one because we're going to be a little bit different than what we've been doing. Okay, if the first term is negative, then the GCF will be -2.
So I did it. I pasted it. And then I hit this. And then do I hit done? Hit copy. Oh, you hit copy again?
Mhm.
Just, where's the copy? Just submit answers to, how did you say that?
Yeah. Okay, so our GCF here is going to be, what can they all be divided by, class? 6, and we want it to be negative because that first term is negative. This first term is negative, so our GCF is negative. And then what's my smallest exponent for x? So x squared comes back. And then now when you're dividing, make sure you divide by -6. -18 divided by -6 is 3, and you take away 2, so x squared. Then -12 divided by -6 becomes +2, and I take away 2 x's and get just x to the first power. Then 36 divided by -6 is a -6, and x squared, I take away 2 and there's no more left. So my GCF is -6x squared times 3x squared plus 2x minus 6. Any questions over that? Okay, when we factor by grouping, we have to do a few things first. The first thing is, does it have a GCF? So x cubed plus 4x squared plus 5x plus 20. Is there something that they can all be divided by? Nope. Okay. Then our second thing to look for is, are there like terms? In this polynomial, is there any like terms? No. It's still like freaking. Okay, so now we're going to factor by grouping. Since there's those 4 terms, when there's 4 terms, we're going to factor by grouping. If you notice, the other ones we were dealing with only had 2 or 3 terms, and there was a GCF. Here, since there's no GCF and there's 4 terms, we're going to factor by grouping. And so we're going to draw the box like we have been, because it's an area. We gave you an area. So this is x cubed. This is 4x squared. This is 5x, and this is 20. So my area in that first box is x cubed. The area in the second box is 4x squared. Make sense? Now we're going to group them and factor out the GCF for these two. What can both of those be divided by? Just an x. Now we're going to group our next, these two. What can those both be divided by? 4, and it's a +4. Okay, then we're going to go to the side. Now we're going to group these two together, and what can they both be divided by? X to the what power? X squared. And then these two. What's the GCF there? 5 and 20. What can they both be divided by? 5. Okay, so then we need to check. So we factored by grouping. Now we're going to check. I'm going to actually find the leftovers for this bottom one. the gray one. So we're going to divide 5 divided by 5 is what? 1x. And then 20 divided by 5 is 4. We want to make sure that in a rectangle or a square, this side has to match this side, right? Do these match? If they don't match, then we've done something wrong. Go back and fix it. You haven't factored out the right GCF, or it could just not be factorable. Okay. So our factors, as normal, are our length and our width. So we have the x plus the 4 is one factor. And then the x squared plus the 5 is the other factor. Any questions over that? Okay, so the next one. We're going to follow the same first few things we want to do. We want to check to see if there's a GCF. Is there anything that they can all be divided by? No. Okay, so we move on. Are there any like terms here? Nope. Okay, so we're going to try and factor by grouping. So draw my box. So my area is the x cubed here, negative 11x squared, negative 9x, and then 99. And then we're going to group them. Bobby, what do those two have in common? The x. And there's just x to the first power because there's only, that's the smallest exponent there. Here we go to the next one. Okay. Lauren, what can those both be divided by? 11 and 99? 11, yes. And it does need to be negative. Term is negative, or sorry, the first term is negative. Since it's right next to this that I'm pulling out, the first term is negative. So the GCF will be negative. So we need to have that negative 11 there. Notice here with the x cubed, that was a positive, so when I pulled this out, the GCF was a positive. Here this is a negative, so when I pull it out, the GCF is negative. Then we're going to go with these two, group these two together. Rihanna, what can these both be divided by? Not 11. The variable. And x to the what power? Very good. The smallest exponent between those two is the x squared. So I pull out the x squared. And again, this x cubed is positive, so my GCF is going to be positive. Now on this last one. Esteban, what is the GCF between the negative 9 and the 99? Negative 9. Again, this is negative. Oopsie. So the GCF is negative. Okay, then we have to check to make sure that those match. So I'm going to factor from here. The negative 9 divided by negative 9 is x. And then 99 divided by negative 9 is negative 11. And we want to check. Do those both match? Yes. Then we factored it well. Okay. So my factors are the x squared minus 9, and then the x minus 11. And it doesn't matter which order I put them in. I can have this one first, the x minus 11 first, and then this one second. Okay, the commutative property is that you can multiply in any order you want. Any questions over that? Okay, let's do the next one. Oh, we want to check again. Is there a GCF, something that they can all four be divided by? Almost 2, but the 3 can't be divided by 2, so we can't do that. Are there any like terms? Nope. Okay, so we're going to go on. Harrison, what is the GCF here? 2, and what else? Stuff with this blue one that I circled. They both have an x. So I need to pull out an x as well. X1, first power, because it's the smallest exponent. The next one. Can 3 and 4 both be divided by anything? No. Okay, so since there's no bigger number they can both be divided by, the GCF is 1. And it needs to be negative because that first term is negative. If they can't, both be divided by something, then the GCF is 1. So sometimes you have to pull out a 1. In this case, it's going to be negative 1 because that 3 is, the 3x squared is negative. Okay, then we're going to go to these two. We're going to group those two together. Haley C. 3 and an x. It doesn't need to be negative because the 6 is not negative. This one is the second term. The first term needs to be negative for me to pull out a negative. Sabrina, between the 8x and the negative 4? 4. Okay, then we're going to check. I'm going to divide 8x divided by 4 and get 2x. And negative 4 divided by 4 and get negative 1. And again, those two should match. If they don't match, I've done something wrong. Go back and check it, or it can't be factored. So my factors now are the 2x minus 1 times the 3x plus 4. Yes?
So it wouldn't be 2x squared?
No, because the smallest exponent here is the x. If this was an x squared, then it would be, I could pull out an x squared, but it's not. We're good? Okay, in your pairs, do the next one. Okay, so let's just make sure Over here, I had the mistake that you guys should have fixed. The 6x cubed and the negative 3x squared, the GCF should have been 3x to the second because the smallest exponent was 2. So then this would be my factors. Back over here. We had some mistakes. So we need to make sure we fix our mistakes. If you haven't already, just check your work. This is 10x cubed. This is 15x squared, negative 8x, and negative 12. So these two, I factor out a 2 and an x. Then these two, I can factor out a positive 3. Then this way, I factor out a 5x to the second. And these two I can factor out. Since that 8 is negative, it's the first term, it's going to be a negative 4. Then I check my work. Negative 8 divided by 4 is a positive 2x. And then negative 12 divided by negative 4 is a positive 3. And then these two match. So we're good. So my factors should be 2x plus 3 times the 5x squared minus 4. Okay, your homework is the 2.4. It's only one page. It doesn't have a back. Okay, it's due on Friday. Tonight at 8 o'clock is your THQ. That's when it's due. So you need to make sure you get that done tonight by 8 p.m. And then tomorrow you're going to have your SRQ quiz on it. Okay? Any questions?